I want to take a moment and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision.
I know what you're going to ask.
About a man's body.
No.
If y'all vote for this woman, you're crazy. That's literally what the draft is. What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Mika, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks because y'all know when we have the Red Cup, we're about to spill some truth. And I wanted to come on and talk about Kamala Harris going on a media run, right? And she's talking to different podcasts. She went on a podcast called Call Her Daddy, which is insane in itself, but it's a popular podcast, so shout out to that. But she went on a podcast and they talked about an array of things. But one of the things that caught my attention was when she started to talk about women's reproductive rights. So let's get into that right now.
At a rally in Pennsylvania, former President Trump recently told women, "You will be protected and I will be your protector." What do you make of that?
So when he was president, hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did just as he intended. And there are now 20 states with Trump abortion bans, including bans that make no exception for rape or incest.
Why does this woman keep saying this? They're not Trump abortion bans. Like, you guys can go and actually look up the law. He decided to give it back to the states, which your vice president candidate decided to actually do. They made their own law, okay, according to the constituents in that state. They made their own law and they're doing fine with it. So I don't understand why she keeps calling this a Trump abortion ban. Maybe because the people that listen to her keep listening to this nonsense, just like she's just nonsense.
Which we just discussed, which means that you're telling a survivor of a crime, of a violation to their body, they don't have a right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, which is immoral. So this is the same guy that is now saying that. This is the same guy who said that women should be punished for having abortions. This is the same guy who uses the kind of language he does to describe women. So
I've never heard Trump say any of that, but let's just say he did. This is the same woman that locked up single Black mothers. This is the same woman that locked up a single Black mother that was taking care of a child that was sick. This is the same woman that locked up multiple single Black mothers and marched them out of their homes. They lost their jobs. They had to fight the case. And then on top of that, she put them in the paper as drug dealers and she put their kids in as thugs and gang members. This is that woman. The nerve.
Yeah, there you go.
I do want to focus on abortion for a moment because 2 years ago, Roe v. Wade was overturned and women lost their constitutional right to an abortion. I put out
That is not a constitutional right. Like, if it's a constitutional right, then men would have the constitutional right to not go to war. I don't see women arguing about that at all. If it was a constitutional right to your body, nobody would have had to get the jab. That was a violation of the Constitution. Or do we not remember that? Roll footage.
The main goal and one of the catalysts behind my action was to ensure that people would not be losing their jobs. And let me explain all of this, but let me first go back and answer the question that you asked, and that is, it's the legal wrangling. Let me be very clear about this. Neither the President of the United States nor the federal government have any legal authority, any constitutional authority to issue their vaccine mandate. And so they're clearly acting illegally, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to act, because I wanted to set the counterbalance against the Biden administration to say that no one can be compelled to take a vaccine. And so this is headed toward a legal showdown. And I'm very confident It's a legal showdown that we will win, because throughout the history of the United States of America, it has been governors and states that have been in charge of the health and safety of the people who are residents of those states, not the federal government.
Wait a minute. So what you guys just saw was the Bengals owner at the time pushing back on the Biden-Harris administration, right? And the reason why they were pushing back on the Biden-Harris administration was because it was unconstitutional to tell people that they had to put a vaccine in their bodies. And not only that, it's always been up to the states, right, to govern what the people wanted to do. You know why? Because we live in that state. And so we vote the way we want to have our state run. It is our vote, not the federal government. The federal government cannot tell us what to do. And that is what Trump is saying. Trump is just saying, hey, Roe v. Wade is mandating all of these states to do something that people in those states don't want to do or don't want to even have there. So give it back to the states and let the states decide. If there's a bunch of liberals in that state like California, I'm sure it will pass. Okay. And if you like having that, then go to California. But guess what? California residents, the liberal ones, don't even like California because they're leaving to go to Texas. So they vote for California laws. They vote for all this liberal stuff. And then they leave because it's horrible. Like they know it's even horrible, but they don't want to stay there. And then they go to Texas to mess Texas up. The same as New York. They go to other states. They come down here to Maryland and they try to mess Maryland up. So Maryland went from a red state to a blue state, and they mess up the taxes, and they run from county to county to county to county. But I thought y'all like liberals. Child. Anyway, back to call me daddy.
I flew to North Carolina. Yeah. I went to a preferred women's health center. I met with women that were getting screamed at and chanted at and called baby killers. And it was the most eye-opening experience I've ever had, because I am a privileged white woman that lives in Los Angeles. I understand that a lot of the younger generation sees things online and is like, what is right? What is wrong? What is real? What is not? Can you explain and talk about what is actually happening to abortion access right now in this country?
Yeah. So again, I thank you for what you've been doing at the earliest stage of this and following the stories. So, you know, on public policy, I often tell my team, look, I don't want to hear about public policy. It is a fancy kind of.
We know you don't want to hear about public policy. Like, who is helping this woman? We know you don't want to hear about public policy. That's why you never talk about policy. But go on, ma'am.
Speech or paper. Tell me how it'll affect a real person. So let's talk about how it affects a real person. The majority of women who receive abortion care are mothers. God help her if she has paid leave. And then she's going to have to go to the airport, stand in a TSA line, sit on a plane next to a perfect stranger to go to a city where she's never been to receive the care she needs. She's going to probably have to get right back on that plane because she's got those kids. Her best friend's probably not with her because that's who's taking care of the kids. To get back in that TSA line, to get back on a plane, to go home.
And that's all if they can even afford the plane ticket.
Exactly.
Well, the abortion is like $400 something. So if she can't afford all this other stuff, wouldn't it behoove you to actually do preventive measures? They never talk about preventive measures. There's all types of contraceptives for women. There's birth control. There's Plan B. There's Plan this, Plan that. We only talk about women's health from the fact of abortion. Why don't you support women taking care of their bodies and actual health and actually show what abortions do to your body, right? Scraping out your uterus that way, the type of fibroids you get, right? A lot of Black women have fibroids. I wonder why. There are things that are hurting Black and brown bodies. So when they say these things, they're not telling you the truth when they tell you these things, but okay.
Or the bus ticket.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I remember my DMs were flooded with thousands of women begging me to help. And it's overwhelming. And I can't even imagine, I'm saying that in front of you, but it's overwhelming. And I remember people begging me like, I just need to afford a bus ticket so I can get out of this abortion desert that I live in the South, so I can get to a state. But they can't even, you know what I mean? So it's like these people are literally landlocked into a position that they don't want to be.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing is that you don't have to abandon your faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government shouldn't be telling her what to do.
The government shouldn't be telling her what to do, which they are not. If the state that she lives in doesn't want it, that means the majority of the women they're voting for don't want it. But Kamala Harris had no problem with telling you, yeah, you got to get the jab. And we're like, oh, we don't want the jab. We don't know what's in it. Yeah, well, we don't care. We're telling you to get it or you're going to lose your livelihood. That was okay. Oh, it's a public health crisis. This is my body, my choice, right? My body, my choice. So I can't even have my body, my choice. But you're fighting for my body, my choice when you could clearly prevent most of these things before you even get up to abortion. Child.
It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. I mean, daddy gang, to put it in our TikTok terms, I have seen girls on the street walk up to men and be like, do you know where a tampon goes? Do you know how many tampons we...
Oh, this is the most disingenuous thing right here. Asking men, do they know where a tampon goes? Men invented the tampon. You chicks are so dumb. You don't even know. Like, this infuriates me. Like, I try not to call people dumb. I try not to insult people, but this is dumb and it's misinformation that they like to use. You chicks keep saying this. Men invented the tampon. The man that invented the tampon wanted to, quote unquote, free his wife from having to be on the rag. Okay. So when his wife was on the rag, as they called it back then, he decided to invent something. He invented the tampon. He invented pads. And by golly, tampons are like some of the worst things that you can use. Just plug it up. You know what I mean? And that actually creates bacteria and things inside of your vagina. Like douches, all of those things were invented by men. So what is she talking about? This is how I know you don't understand history. The things that you're using against men, men gave to you to free you. And what you said, you wanted it to be free. You wanted to have autonomy over your own body. Men gave it to you. And now men are the bad guys. Do you know how to use a tampon? Yes, he does. He knows where it goes because he invented it.
In 1931, Dr. Earl Haas invented the modern tampon. However, it was Mrs. Gertrude Tenderick who brought Tampax to life in 1936.
So, point number one, men, Dr. Earl, he invented the tampon. And then Gertrude went and bought his patent because he invented it just for his wife. That's what he said. But okay, so now this lady is going to talk about multiple abortions affecting your fertility and how the scarring and all of that affect your chances of being pregnant and causing things like endometriosis and other things. Here we go.
How it will affect the fertility is largely it prevents from the embryo from implanting. It leads to the scarring inside the lining of the womb, what we also call as endometrium. And then that leads to the less chances of embryo implanting because the womb is no longer, the lining of the womb is no longer as supple, as healthier, and that will be more conducive with implantation.
Her constituents are going to eat it up along with the don't call me daddy white girl who says she has white woman privilege. She sure does, because she just told you to your face that she's not going to abort her babies, but she wants you to have the opportunity to abort yours. Okay, let me know what you guys think about Call Me Daddy interview for Kamala Harris. like and subscribe and click on one of these videos here, somewhere in here. It's a crazy day in the neighborhood of Kamala Harris. It's your girl, Mika. I'm out. Peace.